There is a silent habit many people develop without ever noticing it. It begins with good intentions, with kindness, with the desire to be helpful, needed, and appreciated. At first, it feels like generosity, but over time, it slowly becomes something heavier, something exhausting. This is a story about that habit, and about the quiet strength it takes to let it go. In a modest city where life moved quickly and expectations were always high, there lived a woman named Eleanor. She was known by everyone as reliable, thoughtful, and endlessly accommodating. If someone needed help, Eleanor was the first to offer it. If extra work appeared, she took it on without complaint. If a friend called late at night, she answered, no matter how tired she was. People trusted her. People depended on her. People praised her kindness. But inside, Elena felt increasingly empty. Her days were full, yet somehow unfulfilling. Her schedule was packed, yet she felt she had accomplished nothing that truly belonged to her. Each night, she returned home drained, not just physically, but emotionally. She would sit quietly on the edge of her bed, staring at nothing in particular, wondering when her life had started to feel like an obligation instead of a choice. Elena couldn't remember the last time she had done something simply because it made her happy. At work, she stayed late almost every evening, not because she had to, but because she was asked. At home, she helped everyone around her, often neglecting her own needs. Even strangers felt comfortable asking for her time, and every time, she said yes. One evening, long after the office lights had dimmed, Elena sat alone at her desk, finishing work that wasn't even hers. Her phone vibrated. A message appeared on the screen. Someone needed help again. Without thinking, her fingers typed the familiar response. "Of course." As she pressed send, something inside her tightened. A small, quiet voice asked a question she had avoided for years. "What about me?" The question lingered in the silence. Eleanor leaned back in her chair, suddenly aware of how tired she truly was. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, but the kind that came from constantly ignoring herself. She realized she couldn't remember the last time she had said no. A few days later, on a rainy afternoon, Eleanor wandered into a small bookstore near her apartment. She hadn't planned to go in. She was simply trying to escape the weather. The shop smelled of old paper and coffee. It felt calm, safe. As she walked between the shelves, one book caught her attention. Its cover was simple, but the title stopped her in place. "No" is a complete sentence. She picked it up, curious. As she flipped through the pages, a line stood out to her. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are quietly saying no to yourself. Eleanor closed the book slowly. The words felt uncomfortably familiar. She bought the book without hesitation and carried it home as if it were something fragile. That night, instead of scrolling on her phone or answering messages, Eleanor sat at her kitchen table with a pen and paper. She made 2 lists. On the first list, she wrote things she loved but never had time for. Painting, walking alone in nature, reading without interruption, quiet mornings. On the second list, she wrote things she did regularly but secretly resented. Staying late at work, attending meetings that went nowhere, agreeing to plans out of guilt. As she looked at the lists, the truth became painfully clear. She had been living her life according to other people's expectations, not her own values. That night, Eleanor made a quiet decision. It was time to change. The next morning at work, her manager approached her desk with a familiar request. "Eleanor," he said casually, "can you stay late tonight to help finish this report?" Her heart began to race. The word yes hovered on her lips, ready to escape as it always did. But this time she paused. She remembered the book, the lists, the question she had asked herself. What about me? Elena took a slow breath and said, "I'm sorry. I have plans tonight. I won't be able to stay." Her manager blinked, clearly surprised. Then he nodded. "All right, I'll ask someone else." That was it. No argument, no anger, no disaster. The world did not collapse. Eleanor sat there in stunned silence, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. That evening, as she walked home while the sun was still in the sky, she felt lighter, stronger. Saying no hadn't been cruel. It had been honest. At first, the change was uncomfortable. Elena worried constantly. She feared people would think she was selfish, lazy, difficult. Every time she said no, her chest tightened with anxiety. But slowly, something unexpected happened. Her time began to return to her. She said no to a meeting she didn't need to attend and spent that hour painting instead. She said no to a social event she didn't want to go to and took a long walk through the park. She said no to unnecessary tasks and yes to rest. Some people didn't like the change. A few grew distant. Others stopped calling as often, and at first that hurt. But then Elena noticed something important. The people who truly cared about her stayed. They respected her boundaries. They listened when she spoke. They didn't disappear just because she stopped overgiving. With the extra space in her life, Eleanor began to rediscover herself. She volunteered to teach art classes for children at the local library, something she had dreamed of for years, but never believed she had time for. She reconnected with friends who knew her for who she was, not just what she could provide. She even began dating again, this time without pretending to be endlessly available or agreeable. For the first time, she showed up as herself. Every no she said to something that felt wrong became a yes to something that felt right. Months later, Eleanor was offered a major opportunity at work, a prestigious position overseas. More money, more recognition, more responsibility. Everyone expected her to accept, but deep down, she knew the truth. It looked impressive, but it didn't feel aligned. At the meeting, Elena listened quietly as the offer was explained. When it was her turn to respond, she spoke calmly. "Thank you for thinking of me," she said, "but this isn't the right time for me. I'm going to say no." The room fell silent. Some looked shocked, others confused, but Elena felt something steady and powerful settle within her. A year later, Elena's world looked completely different. She had opened a small art studio of her own. She wasn't constantly exhausted. She wasn't lost anymore. Saying no hadn't made her cold or uncaring. It had made her free. She learned a truth that changed everything. Your time is precious, your energy is limited, and your life belongs to you. Every yes to the wrong things slowly erodes who you are. Every no to what isn't right protects what truly matters. Maybe you see yourself in Elena's story. Maybe you say yes when your heart is begging you to say no. Maybe you are tired from trying to keep everyone happy. If so, remember this. Saying no is not rejection, it is self-respect. You do not owe anyone your exhaustion. You owe yourself your dreams. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may need to hear it, and subscribe for more gentle stories that remind us how to live with intention. Thank you for listening. May you find the courage to say no when you need to, and the peace that comes from finally choosing yourself.